So imagine just typing a simple prompt into your code editor. Something like, build me a fully functional Netflix clone.
Oh, man. That is the dream, right?
Right. But instead of the AI just, spitting out a bunch of disconnected code snippets that you have to painstakingly piece together yourself, it actually goes to work like an entire engineering department.
Like a full team.
Exactly. It buys the server space, spins up a secure database for the users, connects the video file storage, sets up the payment gateway, and then just deploys the whole application to the web, completely on its own.
It really is a fundamental change in how we conceptualize software creation. I mean, the evolution of these tools is moving significantly faster than the general public currently realizes.
Yeah, and honestly, even faster than many developers realize. Which is why, in today's deep dive, whether you're prepping for a tech strategy meeting later today or you're just, insanely curious about the future of software, we are looking at a massive paradigm shift.
We absolutely are.
Because we are crossing a threshold today where AI is no longer just this digital typist. It is becoming the entire IT department.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
To put this in perspective for you, for the past couple of years, AI coding tools have been a bit like, well, imagine a brilliant but incredibly sheltered architect.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. You can lock this architect in a room, give them a whiteboard, and they will draw up these absolute masterpiece blueprints for a skyscraper. They can write the complex algorithms, they know exactly where the load-bearing walls should go.
But they've never actually built anything.
Exactly. The second you open the door and ask them to actually go out to the construction site to, order the concrete or negotiate with the plumbers, they completely freeze.
They have absolutely no idea how to interact with the messy, practical world out there.
Right. And in the software world, that construction site is the back-end infrastructure of an app.
That is a perfect way to frame it. I mean, historically, AI models have lacked agency. They can suggest the blueprint, but they cannot execute the vision from end to end because they just don't have their hands on the levers of the actual infrastructure.
Which brings us to the core mission of our deep dive today. We are exploring a really fascinating GitHub repository for an open source platform called InsForge.
Yes, InsForge.
So if the current generation of AI tools is that sheltered, brilliant architect, InsForge is stepping in to be the ultimate construction foreman on the site.
It's the foreman, yeah. What's fascinating here is the specific language the developers of InsForge use to describe their project in the documentation.
Oh, right. I saw that.
Yeah, they explicitly call it the backend built for agentic development.
Agentic development.
Exactly. That single phrase represents a monumental leap. We're moving away from the era of AI as a passive co-pilot to an active agent.
And an agent needs to do what, exactly?
Well, an agent needs to understand, configure, and operate backend infrastructure entirely autonomously. Like, it needs to look at the site, realize a pipe is leaking, and go fetch the wrench to fix it itself.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because when I hear terms like agentic development and the platform acting as a bridge, my jargon alarm starts ringing pretty loudly.
For nothing.
So the source material explains that InsForge operates as a, quote, semantic layer between these AI coding agents and backend primitives, and it performs something called backend context engineering.
Right.
So I have to ask you, is backend context engineering just a fancy marketing term for an API? Or is there something fundamentally deeper happening here?
It is significantly deeper. And to understand why, we have to look at why a standard API fails in this context.
Okay.
A traditional application programming interface, an API, is incredibly rigid. It expects a very specific, perfectly formatted request, and it returns a very specific response.
So no room for error.
None at all. If you misplace a single comma, it throws an error and fails entirely. But an AI agent operates on natural language and probabilistic reasoning. It thinks in concepts, not always in perfectly rigid syntax.
So you're saying the AI and the database essentially just don't speak the same language?
Precisely. Think of traditional back-end code, like a restaurant kitchen during a chaotic dinner rush.
Oh, man,
You
yeah.
have cooks yelling, pans crashing, orders flying around everywhere, and AI just can't make sense of that chaos to figure out how many steaks are left.
That makes a lot of sense. So where does InsForge come in?
What InsForge does with this semantic layer is act like a real-time, highly structured digital ticket system. It translates the chaotic, complex state of the backend into a clean, logical menu that the AI can actually read, reason about, and act upon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not just passing raw data back and forth.
Mhm.
It is actively translating the environment into a format the AI understands.
Okay, so the sources highlight that this semantic layer allows the AI agents to do three critical things. First, they can fetch backend context, meaning, I guess, the AI can actually read the backend's manual and figure out what operations are even available to it before it tries to build anything.
Exactly. It scouts the area first.
Right. Second, it can configure primitives directly, so it can actually turn the knobs and pull the levers itself.
Yes.
And third, it can inspect backend state and logs through structured schemas.
And this raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider. Think about what actually happens when software breaks in the real world.
It's usually a nightmare.
It is. Traditional error logs are essentially messy, giant text blobs written by human engineers for human engineers to decipher.
Right, like a wall of text.
Yeah. If a database connection fails, the log might spit out a cryptic stack trace that spans 3 pages. If you hand that raw text blob to an AI, it struggles.
Yeah.
It just lacks the structure needed for programmatic analysis.
Let me make sure I'm understanding this mechanism, though. If the AI just sees a wall of text that says, error 500 timeout at line 42, it just doesn't know what to do with that.
Exactly. It's just noise to the AI. But by exposing the backend state and the logs through structured schemas, which is exactly what InsForge does, the AI isn't just reading a wall of text anymore.
It's reading something organized.
Right. It's receiving this beautifully organized dossier that says, here is the exact database table that failed, here was the memory state at the time, and here are the 3 parameters that were out of bounds.
Wow.
Because the error is structured, the AI can ingest it, understand exactly what part of the system failed, and autonomously generate and deploy a fix. It literally gives the AI the ability to debug its own work in real time.
That is genuinely mind-blowing. I mean, it's turning the AI from just a writer into a full-on mechanic.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the AI can now, read the backend's manual and understand the errors through this semantic layer, but reading the manual doesn't actually build the house.
No, it doesn't.
So what tools is InsForge actually putting in the AI's hands to get the job done?
Well, once the communication barrier is solved, the AI needs a toolbox. And InsForge exposes 6 core backend primitives to the AI agents. Let's walk through them because the specific combination is highly intentional.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, we have authentication. This handles user management, secure logins, and session tokens.
The bouncer at the door, basically.
Exactly. Second is the database. Specifically, it uses a Postgres Relational Database for structured data. Third is storage, which is an S3-compatible file system for things like images or user uploads.
Okay, start right there for a second, because just looking at those first 3, I mean, I can't help but compare this to handing an AI the keys to the entire corporate IT department.
It really is.
You are giving it the keys to the filing cabinets with the Postgres database and the S3 storage, but you're also giving it control over that security bouncer at the front door with the authentication module.
That's exactly what it is, and it goes even further.
There's more.
Oh, yeah. The fourth primitive is a model gateway.
Wow.
This is an OpenAI-compatible API that routes requests across multiple different large language model providers.
Okay.
Fifth, we have edge functions. This allows the AI to write and deploy serverless code that runs instantly on the edge of the network.
Very fast.
Right. And finally, site deployment, which handles the actual building and hosting of the front-end application.
To play devil's advocate for a second here, a database and file storage are pretty standard backend stuff. But why include a model gateway? Why does the AI need a tool to talk to other AIs?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where InsForge shows it truly understands modern software architecture.
How so?
Today, almost every new application isn't just a database and a front end, right? It incorporates AI features natively. Like a user might upload a PDF and want it summarized.
Oh, right.
So if an AI agent is building that app for you, it needs a way to call Claude or Google Gemini or OpenAI to actually do that summarization.
I see. And managing all those different API keys and routing logic is an absolute nightmare for a human developer, let alone an AI trying to code it from scratch.
Precisely.
Yeah.
By providing a model gateway right out of the box, alongside traditional elements like Postgres, InsForge allows the AI agent to build applications that themselves leverage AI.
That's incredibly meta.
It is. The agent doesn't get tangled up in the plumbing of managing API keys. InsForge handles that. It is effectively giving AI agents absolutely everything they need to ship Modern, scalable, full-stack apps completely independently.
So it's building the infrastructure for the AI revolution, but it's doing it with familiar, battle-tested tools.
Exactly.
But that brings us to a huge practical consideration and maybe a bit of a reality check. Giving an AI all these keys sounds incredibly powerful, but it also sounds like it could be just a chaotic nightmare to set up.
It could be, yeah.
How do human developers actually implement and control this in the real world? Like, what does this actually look like on a developer's laptop today?
That's where the implementation details of InsForge become really critical, because they've intentionally designed it to be highly accessible, regardless of your setup.
Okay, so what are the options?
They offer a fully cloud-hosted version at insforge.dev, which is perfect if you just want to spin up an agent and go immediately,
Nice and easy.
right? But for developers who demand complete control over their infrastructure and their data, you can actually self-host the entire platform locally using Docker Compose. You literally just need Node.js and Docker installed.
The sources also mention one-click deployment options for platforms like Railway, Zebra, and Celos, which makes putting it into production pretty seamless.
Yeah, they've made it very deployable.
But I'm hung up on the local connection. If I'm running an AI agent locally in my code editor, and InsForge is running locally via Docker, how do they actually talk to each other safely? Like, how does it securely connect?
They communicate using something called the InsForge MCP, or Model Context Protocol Server. You can think of the MCP as a highly secure translator cable.
A translator cable. Okay.
It sits right between your AI code editor and the InsForge backend, running on local port 7130.
Port 7130. Got it.
So when you type a natural language prompt into your editor, say, create a new database table for user profiles, the MCP takes that intention, translates it into the exact secure binary commands the backend needs, and executes it safely.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. This entire platform, this foreman for the AI, isn't some locked down proprietary corporate secret cooked up in a sealed laboratory at a massive tech conglomerate.
No, not at all.
It is a completely open source project operating under an Apache 2.0 license.
Which is a very permissive open source license. It means anyone in the world can use it, modify the code, and distribute it, even for commercial projects.
And because it's open source on GitHub, we don't just have to take their marketing pitch at face value. We can actually look at the code and see the community actively shaping it in real time.
Yeah, the transparency is great.
And the repository has serious traction. I mean, we are talking about over 3.2K stars, 319 forks, and 45 individual contributors.
Those are impressive numbers for a new project.
Right. The actual updates developers are pushing to the codebase paint a picture of a really vibrant, living ecosystem.
The commit history is incredibly revealing. You literally see a community of human developers actively paving the road for AI agents to follow.
Right. Just looking at the recent updates leading to their latest v2.0.1 release, developers are pushing highly specific fixes.
Like what?
For example, updating wildcard routes to use modern path-to-regex syntax. And for you listening, a wildcard route is basically what allows a website to have dynamic pages, like how a single piece of code can load any user's unique profile page.
Right.
The community is going in and optimizing these routes, alongside cleaning up Docker configurations to remove unnecessary dependencies. They're actively polishing the tools the AI will use.
And if you look at the underlying tech stack, it tells you exactly who this platform is built for.
Oh, for sure.
The codebase is overwhelmingly written in TypeScript. I think it's like 87.9% TypeScript, which is the industry standard for robust web development today.
Yeah, TypeScript is everywhere.
But when you look at the specific technologies integrated into the repository, you see modern frameworks like Next.js and Dino, real-time communication protocols like WebSockets, robust authentication like OAuth2, and critically, a technology called pgvector.
Yes, pgvector. I was hoping we'd get to that because when I was reviewing the notes, that absolutely jumped out at me. Can you explain why including pgvector in the database is such a massive deal for an AI agent?
It is absolutely vital. To put it simply, pgvector is an extension for a Postgres database that allows it to store vector embeddings.
Okay, and for you listening, if you're wondering what a vector embedding is, think of it as the mathematical representation of how an AI understands relationships between concepts.
Exactly. It is essentially the format of an AI's memory.
So instead of just storing data alphabetically like a traditional filing cabinet, it stores data based on its meaning and context.
Precisely. By building pgvector directly into the core database primitive, InsForge isn't just giving the AI a generic filing cabinet. It is giving the AI a filing cabinet specifically designed for an AI's brain.
That's so smart.
It really is. It allows the agent to instantly build applications that require semantic search or long-term AI memory. When you combine that with traditional WebSockets for real-time data streaming, it shows how InsForge is tailor-made from the ground up for the modern AI ecosystem.
It's an infrastructure project built by human developers, optimized for AI agents, but ultimately designed to serve human needs. I find it so poetic, honestly, to see an open source community essentially building the very tools that will automate massive parts of their own daily jobs.
Yeah, it's a bit ironic, isn't it?
It is, but they aren't doing it to put themselves out of work. They're doing it to remove the grueling friction of back-end configuration. They want to focus on the big ideas, the user experience, the actual problems they are trying to solve.
Precisely. It abstracts away all that endless boilerplate code. The goal is that a developer should never have to manually wrangle a database connection string, or set up an OAuth login flow, or debug a routing error for the 100th time in their career.
It gets old fast.
It really does.
Yeah.
So they hand that tedious plumbing over to the AI agent, powered by InsForge, so the human focus remains entirely on architectural strategy and innovation.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today.
We really have.
We started with the realization that AI coding tools are like sheltered architects who need a foreman. We explored how InsForge solves that communication breakdown through a semantic layer, translating the chaotic restaurant kitchen of a backend into a structured menu that AI can read, allowing it to actually debug its own errors.
It's huge.
Then we looked at the 6 powerful tools in the AI's new toolbox, from Postgres to the Model Gateway. And we unpacked how this is all being driven by a vibrant open source community utilizing the exact technologies AI needs to thrive, like pgvector.
Right.
To synthesize this deep dive, the main takeaway is that the leap from AI copilots that just help you type a little faster to true AI agents that actually do the heavy lifting for you requires entirely new infrastructure.
You can't just skip that step.
Exactly. You cannot just plug a large language model into a standard database and expect it to magically build a complex application. InsForge is providing that critical, necessary bridge. It is supplying the structured context, the core operational tools, and the secure local protocols required to make true agentic development a reality.
It is, without exaggeration, laying the operational foundation for the next generation of software engineering.
And whether you are an engineering director managing a massive development team, a startup founder looking to launch a product with limited resources, or you are just someone trying to understand the next big wave of technology, knowing that this infrastructure exists completely changes the game.
It gives you a massive advantage.
It really does. Knowing that AI can now independently read its own system documentation, inspect backend logs through beautifully organized schemas, and spin up an entire database and authentication system autonomously, that gives you a massive edge in anticipating how the digital world is going to be constructed tomorrow.
And remember, this isn't theoretical.
Right. This isn't theoretical science fiction being debated in academic papers. It is a live Apache 2.0 licensed repository with thousands of developers actively using and improving it right now.
And as we consider the reality of that rapid acceleration, I think it leaves us with a profound question to explore.
Oh, what's that?
If platforms like InsForge successfully mature, if they truly give AI agents the complete, frictionless ability to spin up, manage, scale, and debug complex back-end systems completely autonomously, at what point does the human developer transition from being a coder who actually builds the software to simply being the client who orders the software from their own AI?
Wow. From the coder to the client, the brilliant but sheltered architect is finally getting their foreman.
Yeah, they are.
And it turns out that foreman might just end up running the entire construction company while we sit back and review the progress reports. It's a staggering thought and definitely something to keep in mind the next time you see a new AI coding assistant hit the market. That's our deep dive for today. Take care, everyone.